All right, this is going to be a writing lesson on how to do a who, which dress-up. Learning about who, which dress-ups today. Who, which dress-ups. And what this is a way to make your writing more interesting, and you're going to have to put either the word who or the word which into a sentence that has a clause or a group of words that goes with it. I'm going to first show you some sample sentences of how to put a who, which dress-up into a sentence. I want you to pay real close attention, perhaps take some notes, write some things down that are going to help you remember how to do these who, which dress-ups. And you're going to be putting these in all of your papers where you summarize from a source, where you take a keyword outline and you reconstruct a paragraph in your own words. When you reconstruct the paragraph into your own words, you're going to have to put at least one who, which dress-up in that new paragraph. And so here's how you do it. Let's take a look at this first sample sentence here. My uncle, who loves to goof around, played a trick on my cousins and me. Yes, he does play it on me. The word is not supposed to be I there, because he doesn't play a trick on I, he plays a trick on me. But I do put my cousins first into the sentence because it's polite to have the other person first when you're writing. But anyway, so what about the who, which dress-up? That's contained right here. This whole part right here is the who, which dress-up. First of all, I want you to notice that the who, which dress-up starts and ends with a comma. Starts and ends with a comma. What I did was I wrote a sentence first that said, let me change colors here. My first sentence said, my uncle played a trick on my cousins and me. That was the whole sentence. Then I thought, you know, I can describe my uncle and tell you a little bit about him by dropping this into the middle of the sentence right after my uncle. I used the word who because my uncle is a person. Who we want to use with people or with characters, and which we want to use with things. So I would say, my uncle who loves to goof around. I'm referring back to my uncle. I'm telling you some more information about him, that he likes to goof around. I'm ending it with a comma, and then I'm continuing my sentence, my original sentence of played a trick on my cousins and me. So this is a who, which dress-up. Notice that it comes in the middle of the sentence, and it starts with the word who, and the reason I use who is because that's a person that I'm referring back to, and I added some more words to the who, which dress-up. Usually you want to put several words in for the who, which dress-up. You don't want to say, my uncle who is tall played a trick on my cousins and me, because it would be real easy just to say, my tall uncle played a trick on my cousins and me. You want to have a little bit more information than just one or two words that's an adjective that describes this person or this thing, because it would be much easier just to put those words in before the person or the thing to describe them. So once again, to make sure you understand this, I don't say who is tall, because instead of saying who is tall, it would sound much better just to say my tall uncle. Instead, in my who, which clause, I give a lot of information. He loves to goof around. I can't just say my uncle, my loving to goof around uncle played a trick on. That just sounds ridiculous, okay? So here's another sample sentence. The kitchen blinds, which we just bought last week, are already looking old and dirty. Okay, again, my original sentence said the kitchen blinds are already looking old and dirty. That's the original sentence. Then I took this who, which clause right here, plopped it into the sentence, and gave you more information about the blinds in this. These who, which clauses always refer back to the last thing or last person that was in the sentence. So it says which here because the blinds are a thing, and so I use the word which with things. Notice how I spelled the word which. You want to spell that correctly. I gave you a bunch of information about the blinds. They were bought just last week. And notice that this information does relate to what the rest of the sentence says. I don't say the kitchen blinds, which are blue and red, are already looking old and dirty. Those two ideas don't seem to have much of anything to do with each other. But if I just bought them last week, they shouldn't be looking old and dirty already, and so these two ideas go together. Just like up here in the first sentence, somebody that goofs around would probably play a trick on people. And so goofing around and playing a trick on people, those two ideas go together. They belong in the same sentence. Buying blinds just last week and having them already look old and dirty, those ideas belong in the same sentence. And again, notice that the who which clause begins and ends with a comma. That who which clause is set apart in a sentence with a comma on each end. This is called an appositive. An appositive means, oh, you're not going to be able to see that. An appositive means a side thought in the sentence. This is a side thought that goes into a little bit more detail about the kitchen blinds. All right, let's take a look at a couple more examples. I love to eat at my grandmother's house, which is located in Palm Springs. On this sentence, I decided to put my who which towards the end of the sentence. My original sentence said, I love to eat at my grandmother's house. That's all it was. And then I went on to describe the house by saying that it's in Palm Springs. That's where I go when I eat, her food. So I love to eat at my grandmother's house, comma, sets apart the who which clause. Notice I do not end it with a comma because that's actually the end of the sentence. So in place of the comma, I put a period there. And again, the house is a thing, so I'm using the word which. I'm not using the word who. Now let me show you how it's done the wrong way. Here is a sentence that's just like the last one, very similar to it, only I've done it incorrectly. It says, I love to eat at my grandmother's house. Original sentence. I did a good job of putting a comma there to set apart my who which clause, but then I say, who feeds all sorts of delicious, I should have said, who feeds us or me all sorts of delicious meals. Now, why is this wrong? Well, who is referring back to my grandmother, but I'm not talking about my grandmother in this sentence. I'm talking about eating at my grandmother's house. And so I cannot jump over this last thing that I'm talking about, which is the house, to refer back to my grandmother. And besides that, my grandmother is not even in this sentence. My grandmother's house is in the sentence. Grandmother is just describing the house. And the house is located in Palm Springs. Obviously, my grandmother is too because she lives in the house. But I'm not talking about my grandmother at all in this sentence. I'm talking about her house. So this is not a good who which at the end of that sentence. Now, one other thing I'd like to show you is that when you do a who which dress up, you want to underline just the word who or the word which to show that you used a who or which dress up. Now, of course, this is a bad one, but that's where you put your underlining. That indicates, hey, teacher, I did my who which dress up right there. There it is. I underlined the word. All right, we're going to practice doing some of these now with words that would be in your keyword outline. You should have already watched the video on how to make a keyword outline. And so we're going to pretend like this is part of our keyword outline. We're going to be putting this into our own words, into a sentence, and then we are going to put a who-which clause in that sentence. So first, let's think of just a basic sentence using the words girl screamed, ran. How about the girl screamed and ran away? Okay, that's a good basic sentence. The girl screamed and ran away. Now I want to think, could I describe a person or a thing in that sentence with a who-which clause? Well, I could obviously describe the girl. And so what could I say about the girl in a who-which clause that would give more information that would help me understand why she might be running away, something to do with this idea that she's screaming and running away? Well, let's say that she saw a ghost or something. So I'm going to say the girl who just saw a ghost screamed and ran away. So that's going to become my sentence. I'm going to change here to blue and start with a capital. The girl, comma, remember the who whiches always start with a comma. By the way, I want you to take a piece of paper right now, and this is going to be your assignment. I want you to write what I'm writing on your paper for number 1. You could copy this too. That would probably be nice to have on your paper. And then write the sentence just like I'm writing it here. The girl, comma, who just saw a ghost, comma, underline who because it's a who-which dress-up. Notice I'm setting it apart with my 2 commas here. The girl who just saw a ghost screamed and ran away. Period at the end. Okay, so that's a nice who-which sentence. Here's our next sentence. Let's pretend like this is in a paragraph and I'm putting it in my own words. Principal announced awards. We'll do this one together and then you're going to do some on your own. So everybody put number 2 on your paper. Write those 3 words. Pause the video anytime you need to in order to keep up with me. It says principal announced awards. How about we just say the principal announced the winners at the awards assembly or something like that. The principal announced the winners at the awards assembly. Now, instead of putting the who, which with the principal like we did in the first sentence, let's go ahead and put it with the awards assembly. So we're going to put it at the end of the sentence. The principal announced the winners at the awards assembly. Now let's say something about the assembly, which took place at the end of the trimester, something like that. Okay, so here we go. The principal. And it always helps to think of what you're going to write before you start writing it. Announced the winners at the awards assembly, which occurred at the end of the, gotta fit that word in there too, trimester, period. Okay, we do need to underline the word which. Notice I put a comma right here before my who, which clause, and I underline the word which because it's talking about the assembly. The assembly is a thing, it's not a person, and I'm describing a little bit more information about the assembly. What you're going to do now is do these 3 sentences on your own. You're going to do 3, 4, and 5, and then you're going to bring those to school with you, and that's going to be the end of your homework. So take the 3 words, construct a sentence in your mind first, and then think of how you could describe something or someone in the sentence with a who or which clause and add that into your sentence. Don't forget your commas before and after your who, which clause, unless it's at the end of the sentence and ends with a period. And don't forget which goes with things and who goes with people. Thanks for watching.